Good morning, students. Here, once again, we are going to study the memory poem of Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening, written by Robert Frost. The title itself very catchy, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. How realistic description of rural life. So, here the Robert Frost was an American poet. He is a very specialist to picturize the description of rural life in a realistic way. So that's stopping by woods on a snowy evening. So look at the lines here. Whose woods these are? I think I know. His house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. So once on his travel, he just come across a wood. Wood means a forest. That was a snowy evening. He, because of that appearance and the pleasant look and the beauty of the forest, beauty of the woods, he just stopped with his hearts, and he imagined and he says to the reader that whose woods these are. I think he know himself, and he imagined maybe the owner of the woods, maybe his house in the village. The owner of the woods never see me that he stopped in the forest. So the owner, he never see that he stopped there. How the forest looked like, it was full up with snow. First, the picturization, the imagination, how the snowy evening and the forest looked like. So this is what I told you in a realistic way of a description. So, whose woods these are? I think I know. His house is in the village. The whose house? The owner of the woods. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with the snow. My little hearts must think it queer to stop without a farmer's near. So all of a sudden he just stopped by the beauty of the wood, but his hearts here, his hearts as an animal he imagined, and he gave importance as a personification of a human, that he will think that why our master stopped here without a farmer's near. Farmers means our hearts will take rest and have some water, and taking some rest, but here maybe my heart's think it very queer, very strange, why he was stopped without farmers near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. So, what might the hearts thought? There is not even a lake to have some water. This is the very darkest evening, and the longest evening of the year. Why the master all of a sudden here? I don't understand. It was a dialogue of, it was a thought of our hearts. So look at the second line. My little hearts must think it queer to stop without a farmer's near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. Next, he gives his harness bell shake to ask if there is a mistake. So he means here hearts. So the hearts couldn't speak, right? Even though we brought up a pet, he there is some kind of communications to talk to them, to understand them, right? So here master says that my hearts will give a harness bell shake, that if anything happened here, why he all of a sudden he stopped there, so that he gives us harness bells shake, the hearts shake, would have shake the bells, something happened there. The only other sounds is the sweep of a easy winds and downy flake. So what is there is nothing happen, only a sound of sweep, the mild winds, that was the easy winds, the mild winds and downy flake. It was a snowy evening, so that the sound of wind and the flake, snowflake only. So he gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is a mistake. The only other sound, the sweep of easy wind and the downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep. How he appreciate the wood, the forest. It was a lovely, dark and deep. Why it is a dark? Because it's a evening, and deep mean it was a long. It was a very big of woods, very big forest. But I have promises to keep. All of a sudden he stopped there. After then that was a strike out in his mind that he had many promises, many works to do, and miles to go before I'll sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. It means before his death, there is a lot of things, activities he just want to committed in his life. So he yet to be a many work to do before his death arrives. So this is what. So here we must understand by the beauty, by the nature of the words. Suddenly he stopped and appreciate the moment and take the moment just for a while. After then he realizes that before his death he has to come do a lot of work, so he keeps moving on. How realistically he appreciates. So once again, whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little hearts must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year, he gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy winds and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So your poems is over, and your assignment is to by heart the memory lines, all the four strands of memory lines. Read it thoroughly when you come to school.